Have you ever noticed when you share your plans too early, suddenly everyone becomes an expert? They'll say, "Oh, that won't work," or "Why don't you do it this way?" Or worse, they just wait silently to see you fail. Pause. Smile gently, isn't it true? My friends, the biggest mistake we make is announcing our next move before making it. In excitement, we reveal everything, forgetting that not everyone clapping for us wants us to win. Some people clapped only to count how many times we fall. So today, let's talk about why you should never reveal your next step until it's done. My dear friends, have you ever noticed what happens when you tell someone your big plan? Let's say you decide, from tomorrow I am going to the gym, and the moment you say it, your friend claps and says, "Wow, you are so dedicated." Pause, smile, you feel so proud, so accomplished, as if you already lost 5 kilos right there on the spot. But the truth is, you haven't even touched a treadmill yet. So audience laughter. This is what psychologists call an energy leak. The joy, the excitement, the sense of pride you are supposed to feel after doing the work, you already felt it just by telling others. And now, the motivation to actually do it slowly disappears. Think about a balloon. When it's tied tightly, it stays filled with air, full of energy. But if you leave a small opening, the air leaks out little by little. In the same way, our enthusiasm is like air in that balloon. Every time we announce our next step before taking it, we poke a tiny hole in our own motivation. Instead of focusing on action, we start focusing on attention. Instead of putting our energy into execution, we put our energy into explanations. And tell me honestly, isn't it true? Sometimes we spend more time explaining our dreams to others than actually working on them. We want applause before the performance. We want validation before the victory. But the real performers, the real achievers, keep their energy locked inside. They let their silence build the pressure like steam inside a cooker. And when the time comes, they release it, not in words, but in action, in results, in impact. So remember, every word you speak about your plan is like leaking air from your balloon. If you want to fly high, tie your balloon tightly. Save that energy. Use it for execution, not exhibition. Have you ever noticed how children get excited even before the exam results are out? The moment the exam ends, they come home and say, "Papa, this time I'll surely get first position." And the father proudly pats his back and says, "Whoa, beta, you are amazing." Suppose, smile, and that boy feels like a topper already. The result day comes, and instead of first position, it's 10th. But in his mind, he had already celebrated first place the day he told his father. This is the danger of premature validation. When we announce our next step before actually completing it, the brain gets strict. Science shows that when you receive praise for just sharing your goals, your brain releases the same dopamine, the feel-good chemical that you were supposed to enjoy after achieving the goal. But since you already got the reward in advance, the motivation to keep going weakens. It's like eating the dessert before the meal. Once the sweet dish is eaten, who wants to touch the vegetables? Audience laughter. Let me share a small story. There was once a man who decided to run a marathon. He proudly announced to his friends, "I'm training for the 42-kilometer marathon this year." Everyone applauded him. People even started calling him Athlete Sab. Every party he went to, they would say, "Wow, here comes the marathon runner." And slowly, without even running a single kilometer, he already felt like a champion. What happened on the race day? He dropped out after 5 kilometers. Why? Because in his mind, he had already arrived. This is exactly what happens to so many of us. We announce, we feel validated, and then our mind whispers, "Job done?" But in reality, the job hasn't even started. That's why wise people keep their dreams private until they are done. They know, don't ask for the medal before running the race. Don't seek the applause before giving the performance. Don't take the crown before winning the battle. The real victory, my friends, comes not from validation, but from completion. Premature validation is like opening the gift wrap and never bothering to check what's inside the box. It looks good from outside, but there's nothing to hold in your hands. So let us remind ourselves, don't celebrate the announcement, celebrate the achievement. Don't enjoy the praise of words, enjoy the satisfaction of results. My dear friends, when we tell the world about our plans too soon, something very interesting happens. Suddenly, we are not just carrying our own dreams, we are also carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. Think about it. Suppose you say, "I am going to start my own business." The moment you announce it, people around you start reacting. Some clap, some criticize, some laugh, some even secretly hope you fail. But all of them, in some way, are now looking at you, waiting for the result. And the more people look at you, the heavier the burden becomes. Isn't it true? When no one knows what you're doing, you work freely. You make mistakes, you fall, you learn, you improve, without anyone watching. But the moment you declare your next move, your every step is being watched, your every action is being judged. Instead of focusing on doing the work, your mind starts worrying, what will they say if I fail? And this unnecessary pressure starts crushing your natural flow. It's like a student preparing for exams. If the student quietly studies, without telling anyone, he feels calm. He has room to experiment with his routine. One day he studies more, another day less. But if he loudly announces, "This time, I will get first position," suddenly every neighbor, every relative, every cousin is waiting for that result. And if he slips even slightly, the whispers begin. He said first position, but look what happened. The exam pressure was already enough. Now the pressure of society makes it even harder. You see, our mind performs best when it is focused on the task itself, not on the audience watching the task. A singer sings best when she forgets the crowd and simply connects with the music. A player plays best when he forgets the cameras and simply connects with the game. In the same way, you and I perform best in life when we forget about who is watching and simply immerse ourselves in the work. But when we announce our plans prematurely, we invite the audience too early, and the stage becomes heavier than we can carry. There is an old saying, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." I would add, don't invite guests for the meal before the food is even cooked. Because once the guests arrive, you cannot cook peacefully. Their eyes, their comments, their impatience will only spoil the taste of what you were preparing with love. So, my friends, remember this. Your next step is like a delicate plant. If you expose it to the sun and wind too early, it may dry up. Protect it and nurture it in silence. And when it grows strong, when the fruits are ready, then the world can see it, taste it, and celebrate it. Until then, carry your dreams quietly. Work in peace without the noise of expectations. Because pressure created by premature announcements is not a fuel, it is a weight. And weights slow you down, while silence speeds you up. My friends, let me ask you a very honest question. Have you ever noticed that not everyone around you is genuinely happy when you make progress? Some people may smile, some may clap, Some may even hug you, but deep inside, not everyone is celebrating you. Some are comparing, some are competing, some are even quietly complaining. Why him? Why her? Why not me? This is why revealing your next step too early can be dangerous. The moment you share your plan, you open the door for negative influence. Suddenly, the voices of doubt, jealousy, and discouragement begin to surround you. And if you are not careful, these voices can be louder than your own conviction. Think about a candle in the wind. The flame is small, delicate, and full of potential to light up the whole room. But if exposed too early to strong winds, it flickers, it struggles, and sometimes it dies out before it can shine. In the same way, your plans are like that small flame. When you keep them protected, they grow stronger. But when you expose them too soon, the winds of negativity can blow them out. Let me share a story. A young boy once told his relatives that he wanted to become a pilot. Instead of encouragement, he was showered with doubts. Do you know how difficult that is? Oh, do you think you're capable? Oh, so many people try and fail. Why waste your time? He went home that night, confused and defeated. Not because he lacked the ability, but because he let the words of others plant seeds of doubt in his mind. The dream was still possible, but the negative influence made it feel impossible. Isn't that what happens with us too? Sometimes, when we share our next move, we don't just receive opinions. We receive injections of fear, jealousy, and discouragement. And slowly, we start believing those voices more than we believe our own heart. Remember this, not every smile is genuine, not every clap is encouragement, and not every question is curiosity. Some people question you to weaken your confidence. Some people smile to hide their discomfort. Some people clap only to measure how far you'll fall. If you are not strong enough, these small signals can create a storm inside you. But when you keep your plans private, you keep them safe. You protect them from unnecessary opinions. You give yourself space to grow, to learn, to fail, and to rise again without the added noise of people who don't truly care for your success. In life, it is not the lack of talent that kills most dreams. It is the presence of too much negativity. When a plant is surrounded by weeds, it struggles to receive sunlight, water, and space. The weeds choke its growth. In the same way, negativity around your dreams can choke your potential. So be wise. Protect your vision. Share your progress when it is already visible. But don't expose your plans when they are still fragile. Let your results speak, and let your silence protect you from the unnecessary influence of others. Because the truth is simple, people can only attack what they can see. If you keep it hidden, they cannot touch it. And remember, my dear friends, silence is not weakness. Silence is your shield. And your shield protects your sword until the battle is won. My dear friends, let me take you into a very familiar scene. Imagine this, you are sitting with some friends, and in your excitement, you start explaining your grand plan. I'm going to start this business. You say, and then I'll expand here. Then I'll hire this person. Then I launch that product. And before you know it, the evening is gone, not in doing the work, but in describing the work. You walk home that night feeling as though you've already achieved something, but in reality, nothing has moved forward. This is what I call the distraction trap. Instead of putting energy into execution, we end up spending it on explanations. And the more we explain, the less time and focus we have for the real action. Isn't it true? Sometimes we love talking about our plans more than actually working on them. We describe them, we polish them, we repeat them, as if saying it again and again will magically make it happen. But my friends, life doesn't reward talkers, life rewards doers. Let me share with you a simple example. There was a man who wanted to write a book. He announced it to all his friends. I'm writing a book. It's going to be amazing. It will inspire millions. Everywhere he went, he repeated the same thing. He was so busy telling people about his book that he barely had time to sit and write. 2 years passed, and the book was still in his head, not in his hands. He was distracted not by failure, but by excessive talking. You see, the mind has limited bandwidth. Just like your mobile phone battery drains faster when too many apps are open, our focus drains when we open too many tabs of explanation. Every time we narrate our plan, we use up mental energy that should have been invested in working silently. And there is another danger. The more you explain your plans to others, the more advice you will receive, solicited or unsolicited. One person says, do it this way. Another says, no, that way. A third says, why even bother? And suddenly you are confused. Instead of clarity, you now have chaos. Instead of progress, you now have paralysis. You were ready to walk a straight road, but too many directions from too many people pulled you into a maze. Friends, execution is like driving a car. If you keep stopping every few meters just to explain to every passerby where you're going, you'll never reach your destination. Sometimes the fastest journey is the quiet one. No explanations, no detours, just focused driving. The truth is, not every detail of your dream deserves to be spoken out loud. Some things are meant to be lived, not narrated. When you narrate too much, you create an illusion of progress. But illusions don't build realities. Effort does. Action does. Silence does. So protect your energy from this trap. Before you share your plan for the 10th time, ask yourself, am I talking because it helps me move forward, or am I talking because it makes me feel good temporarily? If it's the second, stop, save that energy, pour it into action. Because at the end of the day, my friends, people don't remember how beautifully you described your plan. They remember how powerfully you executed it. Your life will not be defined by how many times you explained your dreams, but by how many times you quietly accomplished them. Silence, then, is not just protection from negativity, it is protection from distraction. And once you escape this trap, you will realize the less you explain, the more you can achieve. My dear friends, have you ever noticed how the most important growth in life often happens quietly, away from the noise, away from the spotlight? Think about a seed. When it is planted in the soil, you cannot see anything happening on the surface. Days pass, weeks pass, and from the outside, it looks as if nothing is changing. But beneath the soil, in absolute silence, the seed is breaking open, roots are spreading, strength is being built. Then one day, suddenly, a tiny green shoot appears. The world sees it for the first time and says, oh, it grew overnight. But in reality, it did not grow overnight. It grew silently, invisibly, patiently, before showing its face to the world. This is the power of silent growth. When you keep your next step private, you give yourself the chance to develop in peace. You are not disturbed by questions. You are not shaken by judgments. You are not distracted by opinions. You are free to grow at your own pace, in your own way. Just like the seed, your roots become strong before the world sees your branches. Isn't it true, my friends, that sometimes we crave recognition too early? We want people to notice us before we have even built the strength to handle their attention. It's like wanting applause during rehearsal instead of waiting for the final performance. But real masters know Rehearsal time is private time. Practice is done in silence so that performance can shine in public. Let me share with you a story. There was a young artist who wanted to become a great painter. Instead of showing his half-finished sketches to the world, he spent years in a small room, quietly practicing, failing, learning, and improving. He did not chase likes or comments. He let his art mature in silence. Years later, when he finally revealed his paintings, people were stunned. They said, "Where did this talent suddenly come from?" But the truth was, it did not come suddenly. It was silently built, stroke by stroke, failure by failure, away from the eyes of the world. Contrast this with another young artist who, in excitement, kept posting every small sketch online. At first, people praised him, but soon people criticized. The proportions are wrong, the colors are dull, this is not good enough. Their constant noise made him doubt himself. Eventually, he stopped drawing altogether, not because he lacked talent, but because he exposed his growth too early. Friends, silent growth is not weakness. Silent growth is strategy. When you grow in silence, you are not pressured to be perfect. You have space to experiment, to stumble, to try again. And when you finally emerge, you emerge stronger, more polished, and more undeniable. Even in nature, silence is the foundation of power. The roots of a tree grow downward quietly before the branches rise upward. The baby in the womb grows silently for 9 months before the world hears its first cry. Even the sun, before it rises, paints the horizon softly in silence and only then shines in full glory. So why should your dreams be any different? Protect them in silence. Let them take root before they face the winds. Because if you expose them too early, they may not survive the storm. Remember, my friends, when growth is silent, success becomes louder. When preparation is hidden, performance becomes unforgettable. And when you allow yourself to be invisible for a while, you return in a way that no one can ignore. So trust the power of silent growth, because silence is not the absence of progress, it is the womb of progress. My dear friends, words are powerful, yes. But have you noticed that words alone don't convince everyone? You can tell people again and again what you plan to do, but most of the time, they don't believe your words. They wait to see your results. Because results, they speak a language far louder, far clearer, and far stronger than any speech. Think about it. If a student says, "This year, I will surely top the class," everyone nods politely. Some may encourage, some may laugh. But when the result card comes with the student's name at the top, suddenly there is no space for doubt, no space for debate. Words can be questioned, but results cannot. Results close the mouths that criticism could never silence. Let me share a story. There was once a young man who told everyone he was going to start a small restaurant. His relatives laughed. "Do you even know how to run a business? Food industry is so risky." His friends joked, "You, a businessman, better stick to your job." If he kept arguing, he would have exhausted himself in endless debates. But he didn't. He worked quietly, step by step, investing his time, his energy, and his heart into the restaurant. Months later, when people walked past his shop, they saw long lines of customers waiting outside. The same relatives, the same friends who laughed at him, now proudly introduced him as our businessman. What changed? Not his words, not his explanations. What changed was his results. In life, many people waste precious energy trying to convince others of their dreams. "Trust me, I can do this. Please believe me, I'm serious. One day I'll prove it." But my friends, why spend your breath convincing people who are waiting to be proven wrong? Instead, let your results speak for you. Because when results talk, even critics fall silent. It's like a tree. Imagine a tree keeps telling the world, I will bear fruits one day, I will give shade one day. People may believe, people may not. But the moment that tree bears mangoes, no one argues anymore. The sweetness of the fruit convinces better than the promise of the fruit. And isn't this true in our own lives? The colleagues who doubted you, the relatives who underestimated you, the friends who laughed at you, they don't change because you explain yourself better. They change when your results shine brighter. Your results are your real introduction. Your results are your real speech. Even in the world of spirituality, saints have said, don't preach with your words, preach with your life. Because when your actions reflect your values, when your achievements reflect your determination, you don't need to announce anything. People themselves will say, this person has something special. So, if you ever feel the urge to reveal your next step, pause. Remind yourself, words may excite people, but results will inspire them. Words may invite doubt, but results will erase it. Words may get applause, but results will get respect. My dear friends, silence plus action equals results. And results, once achieved, speak louder than anything you could ever say. They are undeniable. They are unshakable. They are unforgettable. So, don't waste your time in explanations. Use that time in execution. Because one solid result is worth more than 1,000 promises.